years ago, a 49-year-old British spinster called Frances Garnet Orme was found murdered in a hotel called Savoy in Missouri in India. The British was ruling the country then. There was little information on whether the murder case was solved or not, but what was known was that this murder case provided ample backdrop for a writer in Britain to come up with her first novel. The book got rejected 6 times, but eventually, when it saw the light of the day, it made the author an undisputable name in the genre of crime fiction writing and enabled her to produce several such works which were outsold only by the Bible and Shakespeare. You guessed it right. I am talking about Agatha Christie, and the book I'm referring to is her debut novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. There are still rumors that the Hotel Savoy is haunted. I'll talk about that incident later when I review Ruskin Bond's A Murder in Missouri and Other Tales. So, before I proceed to reviewing the book, I am Shalet Jimmy. I am from India. I love books and I talk about them here. I am an avid crime fiction reader and a lover of classics, hence they predominantly constitute my read and to be read list. But I assure you, I have other genres too. Welcome to Shalet Jimmy's Storyworld. If Madge, Agatha Christie's elder sister, had not challenged her to write a detective fiction, her debut novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, would not have happened. This book introduced the world-famous Belgian detective Hercule Poirot, who had absolute faith in his little grey cells, to millions of her fans across the globe. This book was written in 1916, that is in the middle of the First World War, and was published in the United States in 1920 and in the United Kingdom in 1921. Hercule Poirot had just retired from the Belgian police and he was settling down in a calm and sleepy village called St. Mary. Emily Cavendish, who had recently become Emily Inglethorpe after getting married to Alfred Inglethorpe, lost her life in her boudoir. Emily Cavendish inherited the style court, which was a manor house, from her previous husband. Captain Arthur Hastings, who would soon be appearing as a companion of Hercule Poirot in other Christie's novels, was also introduced in this book. Arthur Hastings was also at the style court as he was invited by his friend John Cavendish, as Hastings was injured at the war front and he was recuperating at the Styles. Soon after he arrived at Styles, he felt that everything was not hunky-dory as it seemed. So, when Emily Cavendish, or Emily Inglethorpe, lost her life, Captain Hastings sought out the help of Hercule Poirot to solve if there was a mystery or if it was a murder. Though autocratic in nature, she had taken care of her stepsons John and Lawrence's needs and treated them as her own sons. But things started going awry when she married Alfred Inglethorpe, who was much younger to her. And one fine morning, she dies in front of her sons, her daughter-in-law, Captain Hastings, and Dr. Bowerstein, who had come to attend to her. It becomes soon obvious that she was murdered, as Hercule Poirot finds out a part of burnt paper from her boudoir. It was a part of the will she made. It means she had made a will and somebody had tried to burn it. Besides, she was also poisoned with strychnine. There are several questions to ask, but let's start with the basic ones. First one, was she poisoned because of that will? And who is the murderer? If you ask me who is the real villain, I would say strychnine. a highly toxic, colorless pesticide. No, I'm not going to spill the beans. You have to read the story to find out how strychnine becomes the real villain. So, coming back to our story, there are half a dozen suspects. Alfred Inglethorpe, her husband, her much younger husband whom she married recently, her two stepsons, John Cavendish and Lawrence Cavendish, her daughter-in-law, John's wife, Mary Cavendish, Cynthia Murdoch, beautiful orphan daughter of a friend of Emily, Evelyn Howard, Emily Inglethorpe's companion. When Hercule Poirot started investigating, he found out that on the day Emily was killed, she was heard arguing with someone. Whom was she arguing with? She seemed a bit distressed after that. Also, she was someone who was in the habit of altering the will every year. Did she alter the will? And was she killed for altering the will? When she died, she had violent convulsions. We know that she died of poisoning, and we also know that what the poison was. But what we do not know is how was it administered, by whom, and when. Before this particular book, strychnine was hardly used as a murder weapon in any of the murder stories. The exemption being Alexander Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo in 1844 and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Sign of Four in 1890. It was Agatha Christie's experience in a hospital dispensary, if I'm not wrong, Torquay Hospital, during the First World War that helped her gain immense knowledge on various poisons. And when she started writing, she was skillfully using it in many of her works. Catherine Harkup, a chemist and an author who came to India in 2015 to participate in a crime writers festival, said, "Many of Agatha Christie's fans know how she deftly used her knowledge of various poisons in her works. But what is lesser known is her toxic arsenal comprises of 30 compounds, including Indian plants." Christie is well known for her twists in the climax. When the readers feel that they are about to figure out who the culprit is, she twists the entire plot. I read The Mysterious Affair at Styles many years after I became her ardent fan. Do you remember her famous twists on the murder on the Orient Express? You can witness such a streak of twist in her first book also. As Hercule Poirot says, "I find a method in his madness. I also feel I should alter my method of reading Christie." I should delve deeper into her plot and characters. That's what I mean. I've been reading crime fiction since I was 16, and I could figure out who the culprit is even before the author reveals it to the reader. Not in every book, but a few. But with Agatha Christie, it never happened, though I have read her 20 books. For me, every Agatha Christie book is a fine work in crime fiction, just like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. So, I would recommend Agatha Christie to anyone who are interested in crime fiction. So, if you like my review, please share, like, comment, and subscribe. And support. God bless.